Happy New Year. I hope you had a great holiday break. This is the first M for the Chairman of 2016. I'm actually recording this in 2015 because right now I'm in the UK with the team for about 2 weeks. But I wanted to get an extra 10 for the Chairman under the belt before I left. So I'm recording this just before Christmas, and then you guys get this on January 4th, and then I'll be back in the US sort of mid-January, and then I'm going back and forth between the UK and the US because we've got a lot of work to be done, and so I'm trying my best to be hands-on and spending as much time with all our teams as possible. So anyway, so this is me from this is I guess the past me in the future, so I don't know whether you call me a time traveler or not. But anyway, Happy New Year. Hope everyone had a great holiday. This is 10 for the Chairman, where I answer 10 questions that have been asked by our subscribers. Subscribers are the subset of our community that pay money every month to help support our ongoing community content. So it's this shows like Around the Verse, Bug Smashers, Ship Shape, sort of behind the scene pieces. We do Jump Point, which is a 40 to 70 page magazine with great behind the scenes detail showing how ships are built or characters are made, lore about the world, fiction about the world. It's a really great read, and there's quite a few other benefits for subscribers, which we do because we want to say thank you for allowing us to do a whole level of community content that most games don't get to do, and it's really partly because of your guys' support that we can afford to buy the cameras and have folks that are dedicated to filming this and editing this and all the rest of stuff. So thank you very much, and for that I try to answer 10 questions the best of my ability every week that are posed by the subscribers. So let's get to it. So the very first question comes from Buccaneers, who asks, on ship persistence, will capital ships like the Javelin remain in space after all crew members logged off? Will it need protection or an NPC crew to prevent the ship from damage or theft? So that's a pretty good question because normally obviously you would land on a planet and then your ship just gets put in the hangar and everyone else can't really access that hangar. So in terms of ship persistence on the really big ones like the Javelin, we sort of determined that there's going to be safe areas. You can sort of put it in orbit or dock where when it's in that safe area and you've logged off, nothing can happen to it. It's not going to get blown up or raided or boarded while everybody's sort of off and sleeping. If you left your Javelin in an unsafe area, then maybe potentially it's not. It sort of depends how we're going to do it. So we're going to sort of, in some levels, we're going to take a little bit of liberty. For instance, we've said that ships that have beds, if you sleep in your bed, then that allows you to save the game. So, one of the things we're going to do, so you can maybe sleep in your bed in an asteroid field. If there's no other players around, what we'll do is once you log off, we'll take your ship. Your ship will not be existing in an instant. So if other people are flying around there, your ship wouldn't be there, so they couldn't do anything to it. And we'll also probably do something similar to that on the bigger ships as well. We don't really want you to sort of come back to the game and go, oh, where did my ship go? Because in real life you would still be sleeping on your ship. So I hope that answers it. So we're going to basically protect it for people when they've sort of finished and logged off and it's not in use, as long as it's in certain areas that are safe. Okay, next question comes from Blix, who asks, will we be able to buy rec/UEC items and configure our ships to use in the 2.0 mini PU sometime in the future? Absolutely, that's a very high priority for us. It's one of the things that's going to be up early next year. So we really want to have the ability to go to shops and buy things. You can buy weapons for your ship, components, personal items like clothes and stuff like that. That comes with persistence, which is going to, full proper persistence is going to debut early next year, and along with that will the ability to buy stuff for your ship and personal self, and really it's going to be focused. Ultimately the 2.0 mini PU, as it grows, that's where it's going to go. We want to move away from you being on Voyager Direct on the website and only buying in our universe. So as soon as we have it robust in the universe, Voyager Direct on the website will probably go away, and then you'll just have to go to the various stores or shops to buy stuff in the game. Okay, next question comes from Sneezy Dinosaur, who asks, in the universe, will there be a way for us to buy and sell used ships, whether that be through used ship dealerships or via trading with other players? I would say that long term, there probably will be a way to buy and sell used ships. Shorter term, what's going to happen is you'll definitely be able to sell your used ship, which you'll sell at a discount, but there probably will only be new ships available to buy at the dealership. So like you would go to the dealership, they would say, oh, I'll trade in your used Aurora for this, and you can, get this new ship, so you just need to pay me the difference. So that will definitely be happening and happening pretty early. But having dedicated used ship sales places probably won't be for a little bit. So that's sort of like a lower priority. I mean, we've had the same discussions on clothes. Like, could you go and sell your used clothes, and then you have the equivalent of thrift stores? And while it's kind of a cool idea, it's simpler on the game mechanic side to just sort of sell the item at a discount because now it's being used, and then you just buy new items. So that's kind of where we're at longer term, where we probably will allow the sort of buying and maybe used cars dealerships, but you're getting the ship and it's got some wear and tear on it and run down, so it'll probably need some money to fix, or it may not operate as optimally until you can fix it up. So that's kind of it. Trading with other players, we're definitely going to allow you to sell and trade with other players. There's going to be some sort of rules and limits to it to try and avoid sort of abuse of it. And there'll probably have to be things like title transfer tax and stuff like that. When you say sell a ship to another player, you have to pay the UEC money to transfer the title, just like you do on, say, cars, say here in the US. Okay, next question comes from Trickery, who asks, will there be an option of stealth gameplay for the FPS part of the game and the tools and mechanics to support it? Absolutely. That is part of the core design. I mean, we're trying to make the FPS gameplay itself be more tactical and less just run and gun, especially since it's it's more lethal than you would normally expect with, say, a Call of Duty or something. And we actually have some gadgets that are good for stealth and distraction, so they're just not in 2.0 yet. We're going through and sort of reactivating and polishing them from Star Marine, and they will also debut with Star Marine, but we have the hologram gadget where you can sort of put up a version of yourself and you can be off sneaking somewhere else. We're going to have definite things that will help with sort of hiding your radar or noise signature or heat signature and stuff like that. So we definitely want that. We have vents which aren't in 2.0, but they will be in the future, where vents you can sneak around and crawl around and sort of outflank people and do stuff like that. So yes, it's definitely going to be. I definitely see the combat in FPS being much sort of more sort of tactical, and part of that would be allowing you to do stealthy stuff. Okay, next question comes from Priam, who asks, will players be able to play as privateers, Corsairs, Buccaneers on the grey but still legal side of the law and carrying letters of marque like Sir Francis Drake and Henry Morgan? I don't like being tied down to one org, but I sure do like a nice slice of pie. So that's a good question. In the particular case of Sir Francis Drake and Henry Morgan, that was you had these various colonial powers all vying with each other, and so the British would be like, oh, okay, Sir Francis Drake, it's okay if you sink Spanish ships. You can't sink English ships, you can sink Spanish ships. So I'm not sure we have exactly the same situation here, because the UEC is, so I don't think the UEC is going to be like, well, it's okay if you sink ships from Terra, but don't sink ships from Earth. So I'm not so sure about the letters of marque, but there'll definitely be cases where, as a freelancer, you will be hired by various orgs, NPC orgs, or like the UEE or whatever, and you'll do sort of missions for these greater sort of powers or organizations. So it's a little bit like that letters of marque, and I definitely think there's going to be gameplay that will allow you to sort of be a privateer or a Corsair, or Buccaneer. So maybe there's a gray area, between Earth and, I don't know, like the Zhan Empire or something, where stuff can go on, and the UEE turn a blind eye to it, and maybe the Zhan Empire turns a blind eye to it. But there's definitely going to be cool gameplay for all the sort of play styles. So there you go. I don't know if that answers the question properly, but the Tick asks, how will be able to land on an unexplored or uninhabited planet when populated planets bring you in on autopilot? All right, so well, we obviously showed the procedural tech at the end of last year. The plan isn't really to have you go in on autopilot anymore. So the plan is, whether it's a populated or unpopulated planet, if you're landing in a landing zone, those ones would tend to be controlled because we, like just in real life, it's like you can't just fly into New York's airspace. I mean, they just don't let you do that right now. So what we would do is we would have like landing tunnels, basically. So you would fly down from space to the surface of it, and then there'll be sort of like a tunnel entrance, a virtual tunnel, basically, that would say, okay, this is the designated lane that you can approach in, and then we need you to land on pad 18. And so you communicate with a control center for that landing area, and they say, yeah, go ahead, go and land, and then you'll fly down it. So as long as you fly inside the bounds of the tunnel and bring it down on the pad, great. The moment that you would deviate outside it, then the sort of like security flight control system takes over your ship and then auto lands it for you to basically prevent players doing 9/11 stuff, which is like flying into buildings or trying to just grief other players. So that will tend to be on the populated environments, and then in general on the other areas, like just if you're landing down on a planet, like a forest planet or something, if it's all our sort of procedurally generated stuff with small areas of interest, then that's kind of open to land where you want to land, and that's actually one of the things we're the most excited by. We're gonna not necessarily have like this huge 400 billion star systems. That's why we're sort of purposely keeping ourselves into a reasonable amount of star systems, although hundreds is quite a lot. But we're going to have more going on the planets, and so one of the cool things with the procedural stuff, which we're already working on, which is far more than what we've showed, is having a planet that has crisis level fidelity of vegetation and details, and we'll have some wildlife and stuff. So there'll be places to go down, and there'll be an opportunity to do things like collecting mining minerals or hunting alien animals for their skins that you could sell somewhere else, or taking supplies to a small expedition outpost. So I think there's going to be lots of sort of emergent gameplay that we're going to have, and we're going to put up points of interest or areas that will sort of be mostly procedural created. So the designer will sort of basically sort of work with the world with the procedural tech to create something that he likes, and then sort of set some rules for it, and that will sort of determine a lot of kind of the things you could do on it. And I think there's just going to be a lot of opportunity. So it's pretty exciting, and that's we'll be updating you as this year goes on that. But yeah, cool. All right, next question comes from Lego Nick 2000, who's asking, I was wondering if in the future you have plans to reward subscribers in more ways. Yes, so we're actively trying to figure out how we can reward subscribers more, because obviously we really appreciate the fact that you guys are supporting us doing all the community content that we do. I think we're going to play around with things like rec, maybe different loanerships, and we're also thinking that as a subscriber is going to maybe have some way that you pass into the actual game itself. So I think there's this discussion of the ICC Stellar Surveyor organization, and we're still working on that. So stay tuned. I'm sure Ben will have updates on what we're going to do with the subscribers. I think we have a patch that we're working on for this surveyor organization, and don't worry, we got your backs. We much appreciate what you're doing. Okay, next question comes from Shrike, who asks, as additional features, functionality, and game mechanics come online, the need for an updated game manual becomes more important, especially as we bring new backers on board. Will we be seeing more updates to the downloadable PDF manual? Yes, absolutely we are. We're actually working on the manual right now for the sort of mini PU 2.0 experience. In addition to that, the current experience is not great for a new player at all. We partly are dealing with the downside of having such a big team. So you've got a team in this location's working on this feature, a team in this location working on this feature, a team working on this location working on this other feature, and a lot of times like, oh, I just need what am I going to do for activating autopilot? Oh, what am I going to do for going to cruise? And so at the time, developers like, oh, just this key's not used, let's use this key. But there hasn't been a kind of overall 10,000 foot view of that, and that's something that we've been planning, meaning to do. Everyone's just been so busy with stuff, but with the release of 2.0, I feel like it's very important to improve the UX experience greatly. So as you get into the game, it should be if you don't know much about it, it should help you learn how to fly your ship. So and also as you upgrade your ships, they can get more and more complicated. So like the basic Aurora should not have all the features in terms of tweaking your IFCS or doing as much targeting or fidelity stuff that like a dedicated, like combat fighter ship like a Hornet or a Sabre or Gladius would necessarily do. And so, I think one of the big keys is to have that gradation of like complexity in avionics, complexity in weapon systems that come with the components and the whole system we've got. And you start out, you first get into the game, it's fun. You can fly around. It's pretty easy. It's easy to pick up. You know how to play an FPS game, so you know how to move around. And then you go, oh, you know what? I want to really know more about this, and you can sort of turn on like the advanced mode. Just like on anything you do on your dialog box on most software you use. There's like the basic simple use and the advanced mode. So we'll sort of have versions of that, and you'll also want to be upgrading. So like the base starter Aurora will probably have a sort of simple avionics package, but maybe the Legionnaire has a more complicated one with the advanced mode that allows you to do more tweaking like you can do right now. So we want to make that experience better. We want to unify the controls. You don't want to go from FPS to EVA to flying a ship and strafing left and right on the keyboard are all different keys. It's not. It should be consistent. So we're making a big push to sort of improve the UX and the whole. So you should just feel like, okay, yeah, I go left and right, same keys no matter which mode I'm in. So we're trying to do that as an overall pass, make the experience better, have sort of a sort of I don't know, your kind of bitching Betty, hey, do you want me to walk you through the flight controls, sir, when you first get into the ship as a new player. So all those things I think will help out a lot in addition to the manual we're doing. It's pretty important for us. I think we've gotten to the point now where all these systems are together and we need to unify the user experience. We've got to make it less complicated for the people first beginning to play, and we still need to keep all the detail and complexity in for the experts, right? And that's actually that's a great game learning curve. People say it all the time, but it's like simple to learn, difficult to master, right? So it's get in, have fun, but then you want to push it. You want to be a better combat pilot. You want to be a better racer. Well, pull off the training wheels and start turning the knobs. And so we're going to be focusing on that. That's a high priority for me in the early part of this year. Next questions comes from Banjo, who asks, will the procedurally generated environments be the same for everyone, or will the system generate entirely new terrain each time we visit a world? No, they'll be the same for everyone. So the key about procedural generation is it's deterministic. So you start with a seed or a number of seeds, which are just generally numbers. Then those numbers drive all the formulas that would create the terrain, the oceans, the forests, all the rest of the stuff. And the beauty of that system means that as long as all the players share the same seed, which they will, they can dynamically generate that world that will be identical on their machine to someone else's machine or on the server. And that's basically, that's the rule set of how procedural generation works. And if you can think about it, it's almost a incredibly efficient compression algorithm. Say maybe 5 numbers can generate this huge world with all this detail on it. But that's definitely how No Man's Sky works. It's definitely how Elite works. It's definitely how Infinity Battlescape works, and it is the way ours. So the world, when you visit the world, it will always look the same. So the procedural generation is just how the world was created from a small subset of variables. But it will always, after those variables are established, look the same, other than changes that are enacted on it by a player. So like if someone is mining somewhere and we're taking away part of the rocks, then that would be a delta on the actual base procedural planet, which the delta would have to be shared to the other players. So we're longer term planning to do that, but I think in the shorter term we probably wouldn't have players being able to do too much modification of the procedural planets. Just because you don't want to be carrying too much data around. Okay, next question comes from Locke Ostrie, who asks, will the Starfarer's refueling mechanic come online when the ship is flyable, or is this a feature that is planned for further down the line? So no, we're actually, that is one of the key things we would like to get working when the Starfarer becomes viable, is to allow you to refuel. We really want to sort of push, again, we talked about these different game mechanics. We've got like parts of it in, but not all of it in. So we do consume fuel when we fly around. We consume fuel for quantum drive. And we have these cryastro stations, which right now just sort of give you free stuff. And obviously, once you can earn UEC or alpha UEC in our sort of SC alpha, we're not going to have things be free. We're going to have shops where you can buy weapons. We're going to, you're going to go restock your ammunition or your missiles, or you want to pay for the repair. And then we're going to have missions that you can earn some stuff, so you can afford you can do that. So you can upgrade your ship, you can fix it, you can do all these other things. And refueling's another one of these things. So we don't really want to have 1 million cryastro stations around. It's kind of a bit silly. This would be a few, but yeah, we want players to fly around with their Starfarers and they can refuel other people. And we also want to be able to sort of collect the fuel that they would use. So those mechanics we are actively working on those to have them be part of, just like when we had EMP debut with the Warlock, we want to be debuting the refueling with the Starfarer. I mean, this month we're going to put the Starfarer in the hangar. It's still, still a little bit of ways off from flying it because it's such a big ship. There's, other things that come in with that. But we are working on having all that stuff up and running for that. All right, so there you go. That is this 10 for the Chairman. And thank you all. Welcome to 2016. I think this is going to be a great year. Loads of cool stuff is in process and happening, and I sort of feel like we're, I can see a very distant light at the end of the tunnel. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it, and let's get the show on the road. And I will probably speak to you in a couple of weeks' time because I'm, as I said, in the UK right now. This is just past me talking to future you. And I will talk to you in a few weeks, and have a great time. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching 10 for the Chairman. If you guys would like to see more episodes, go here. If you guys would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel and always keep up to date with all our video content, go here. And if you guys would like to watch episodes of Around the Verse, go here please. And I will see you in the verse.
This video made possible by the ICC Stellar Surveyors and subscribers like you.